out there. Welcome to the Geek Branch Podcast. My name is Dane. Today I'll be hosting my own segment. This is The Depths of Disorder, where we will be diving into my very disordered mind to bring out something to talk about. And so today I have to suggest to everyone out there, every member of the audience, girls, gents, ladies, I have to bring out what I think is the best TV show in all of television currently.
Arguably.
He will be convincing you and me.
And definitively the best sci-fi show ever. Fight me. Now, I am talking about Amazon Prime's The Expanse. This, to me, both the book series as well as the TV show are just exemplars of what it means to be sci-fi, what it means to be a show that has great writing, a great cast, great acting, and an absolutely amazing story, which is obviously the most important part. And I want to all of those out there who have not seen it, to my friends here who have not completed watching it or haven't started watching
I watched like one episode.
I am here to tell you about the magnificence that is The Expanse.
Look, I'm going to go ahead and piss you off and tell you this now. I watched an hour and a half of three jackasses driving boats across Vietnam, and I enjoyed it more than The Expanse. I'll tell you that now.
I watched it the first episode with Stacy, and she got very bored, so that's why I haven't watched it since.
That's okay. I'm going to disregard you as a living being, and I'm going to recommend that you stick with it.
Seaman is great, by the way, if you haven't watched it. It's the, what's it called? Grand Tour guys.
Oh, okay, all right, I got you.
Yeah, three jackasses driving boats
instead
of cars.
Yep.
Anyways, continue.
Grand Tour, the guys that used to be
Top Gear.
Top Gear, yeah.
Yep. So listen. On to The Expanse. So The Expanse is, for a lack of better terms, a space opera of a sort that is taking place in a not too distant future in which Earth has colonized Mars and Mars is separated from Earth. So they're two independent, basically, cultures. And there is the asteroid belt, which is a sort of dependent on both of these two existing factions to survive, but nevertheless independent culture of itself. And they're all very unique. They all stand for different things thematically and symbolically that is a really cool dichotomy as a division of the human race. So Earth is, of course, Earth. It is still the same government, overarching body. It is also extremely socialist at this point because it has had a really hard time. Its population is massive this many years into the future.
Right.
And it has a universal basic income. Well, not only just universal basic income, universal basic everything. In fact, the entire
Could use Andrew Yang's future plans.
Right. But the entire economic system is called basic, which is just you don't have to work, you will live, and the government will give you all of this basic existence. You have a place to live, you'll have food,
entertainment,
a little bit of income, and a little bit of entertainment. And it covers almost everything, but it's absolutely just crippled the human spirit as far as Earth is concerned.
Yeah.
And the only way to get out of basic is to get a job. And there is a giant employment list that is literally thousands of names long, where 1 out of 6,000 people will be able to train and have a profession. That is how bad Earth currently has it.
Yep.
Mars, on the other hand, is a separatist group that has become its own unique individual government. And they, on the other hand, are all mobilized. Every Martian has a job. Every Martian has a purpose. Because what they're trying to do is terraform Mars into a livable planet. And that is a project that has already taken them decades and will not be completed for more than 100 years. So they are committed to this great long-term dream, and every single one of them is unified in achieving this.
If I remember correctly, aren't they also very militaristic?
Yes, because they have to defend against Earth.
Right.
So they've become a very militarized, very wholesome, unified society. And it kind of is almost a sort of socialist communist for Earth and a sort of like utilitarian, some would say fascist, because they all wear the same suits and they're all really heavily on the military side for Mars. And then you have the belt, which is made up of a really unique sci-fi culture that is all of like the forgotten peoples of Earth, just people that you wouldn't really think about, like Africans, Haitians. It's multiple races, but they have their own unique language and their own unique culture of surviving out here without any of the resources necessary to have a stable life, like the planets have.
I do like the fact that they're literally called belters.
Yeah, they are just the Belters. They have their own language, which internally they're called Belterlotas. They have their own language, and I know I've said it like 5 times, but it's really freaking cool because eventually, if you watch the series enough, you will actually just learn it. And it's really interesting because you actually understand what they're saying, and it's a really kind of interesting mix of like multiple Earth languages.
Yep,
That is
I'll just keep using subtitles.
yeah, because it's a jargon. It's like their entire language is jargon.
Yeah.
And so those are the 3 factions that currently exist. Belters really aren't a faction entirely. There's a group within them called the OPA, which is broken down into several sub factions, and they're functionally anarchists, pirates, terrorists, or at the very least raiders. There's not too much positive that you can say about the OPA. In fact, they're treated as terrorists for the majority of the series because to Earth and Mars, that's all that they are.
Right.
And so the story of the Expanse is of a select crew, all used to be members of a ship called the Canterbury, and them discovering exactly what is going on in their universe and how it's going to be affecting humanity's future. And it covers a vast swath of unique characters representing the different factions. The core crew for the group is a Earthling, who's the main lead,
Yeah.
whose name is James Holden.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's really unique because he was born on like an even more communist version of what Earth currently is. It's actually a commune where a bunch of families have gotten together and literally shared their DNA to make one son. And it is all with the purpose to protect their land and territory from Earth's government that would repossess it and use it. So they are legitimately a commune, and he is the scion of this commune. He is born and bred both to be a leader for their entire group and is also having the responsibility of making sure that that land stays within these families. So he has multiple mothers and multiple fathers. And obviously, the weight of that responsibility kind of broke him down over the years. And so
Yeah.
he's escaped to actually work on a ice freighter that drags ice from the belt into other parts of the universe that need water, fresh water. And he's currently on the Canterbury. There's another human by the name of Amos who is a like for lack of better terms the worst parts of what you could imagine that system being, having that type of really inner city heavily crime ridden basic lifestyle. He is essentially someone who's came up in like the worst of like inner city gang culture,
Okay.
and he is almost, for a lack of better term, psychotic. He's a really interesting character because he's the first one in. He's straight up a brawler. He doesn't care about his own life. He only cares about choosing where he gets to die.
Okay, I remember him now.
Yeah, it's Amos because his personality really stands out. The moment you start talking about how he handles things, like if you point and say that person needs to die, Amos is the person that walks up and is willing to fight to the death to make sure it gets done.
He's almost like a Drax, but with no humor involved.
Right. He's very serious. And it's creepy. Like Amos is a character that can really creep you out because he seems really inhuman. But it's just someone who's lived under such harsh circumstances is what his character has been built up to be. You have Naomi Nagata, who is by the way, that she's from the belt. And that's a perfect example of how blended the belt is because she's an African American looking woman,
Yeah.
but her name
It's
is
Japanese.
with an English name at the front of it, Naomi. Yeah. So it's the belt is a really interesting hodgepodge of like multiple cultures blended together to make something like that. She's not going to spoil anything for anybody who has to watch the series, but she's related to the OPA and the more radical factions of the belt and represents that side. And then their pilot, Alex, is a Martian.
That's the guy from he's on the show from day one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing him.
Particularly, he's my favorite character from what I remember.
Yeah, because he's kind of
Well,
like
no, I'm sorry, second favorite character.
he's like a Martian cowboy is the best way of putting about it. And he's a pilot. And so he sets out and is kind of like the most chill and relatable character, but he's also another person who's kind of broken off from what Mars stands for.
Yeah.
Because, most Martians can't imagine a life without being Martian, without being a part of that unity. And he is very independent as opposed to your standard Martian.
He used to be a I know it comes up at some point, but he used to be a pilot for them, right?
Yes, but he lies about his job.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you the truth about that lie,
Yeah.
but most people presume he was a part of the Martian military,
Right.
which is very weird because he's no longer. That's not something that most Martians do, leave the military.
Right.
But there's an actual secret that gets revealed later about what he used to do.
Yeah.
So those are your main cast and crew that you will see taking place throughout the majority of the story. There are other very important side characters like the UN chief of security, who later on becomes the UN Secretary General, Viscerala, who is played by just one of the best of the older generation of actions, a Indian woman whose name.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows her as soon as you see her.
But
Yeah.
you're gonna butcher the name if you try for
Right.
it.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
But she does a spectacular job in her role. It is one of the most interesting characters representing Earth because she has almost taken on a very parental role in what she does, because Earth has this really weird like subculture that is everyone under basic is functionally a child.
Yep.
And the people who are not on basic, that have jobs and that are supporting the entire planet in this way, are functionally parents. And that kind of is what it seems like. Like Earth has become a giant kindergarten.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was like the first, because I watched episode 1 and 2, I think. And I remember her interrogating someone. And even when she was interrogating them, she was like talking to them like she was like a parent and they were a kid, even though like they were totally torturing them.
Yeah, she was interrogating a belter that was presumed to be a part of the OPA, is presumed to be a terrorist.
Yeah.
Because there's this ongoing constant state of conflict between these three factions.
Yeah.
So to more summarize exactly why The Expanse is one of the best to me is that all of these characters have individual motivations, individual backstories.
There's one more character you're forgetting that's very important.
I'm trying to stick to season 1.
No.
Yeah, sorry.
The detective from season 1?
The detective, James Miller.
That's my favorite character.
I don't think he is in all the seasons.
No, he's in season 1. He's very important in season 1.
He's particular to season 1. It's Miller. And I didn't want to go too deep into Miller because Miller is like carrying
Superman
the super plot.
Yes, he's carrying
him.
I'm just saying, like he was the character that drew me into season 1 from when we were watching.
I thought he was going to be the main character,
and for a functional point in time, he actually is, but he kind of shares the role until he no longer does, and Holden kind of takes
pilot.
Yeah,
takes over.
No, not the pilot.
Not pilot. Holden is the leader.
Okay.
The first person you said involved with the Canterbury.
Yeah. Okay.
So what happens with Miller is a Belter detective. He is Belter born, but he is working for an Earth Federation corporation that is providing security for where he lives. So he's basically a cop for hire.
Yeah.
And so he has this very unique stance.
You can definitely tell he's corrupt.
Well, he's not corrupt.
He's jaded.
Jaded would be more accurate, because you do meet corrupt cops.
Okay, so he's
they're
not
corrupt. Yeah. You quite understand. He's kind of like Harvey Bullock, you know.
Yeah, he lives in the gray side of things.
Yeah, because he's been there for long enough to where it's worn down any idealism that he used to have. And when you first meet him, he's basically functionally just running through the paces. He doesn't care anymore. Right? They give him a job. He goes out and does it. He collects his check. He lives his life. He isn't motivated to accomplish anything greater or to be anything more until he gets a particular mission, a job, a missing persons report for a woman by the name of Julie Mao, who is integral to the entire plot of the series. And he begins to investigate her. And the thing about Miller that I really love about him is that he had become so worn down by being attacked by Belters because he's working for Earth, and then being disrespected by Earthlings because he's a Belter, that he had just kind of given up on people. He never could see the light or the good in anyone until he came across the history of Julie Mao. And Julie Mao is for lack of better terms, a Harris. Her father, Jules Pierre Mao, runs a massive Earth corporation, so she is rich beyond all possible belief. But she's given up her inheritance and her social status and has come to the belt to help Belters.
Right.
And when he first sees it, he assumes that she's out here just having that experience where I'm rich, I want to see what the other side's
Right.
like, I'm just
The
here to have
stereotypical rich person feeling bad for the poor
right.
storyline.
Just like I want to see the wild and out here. I want to get in with some dark and dangerous
But
people.
that's not the case.
No, she's out here legitimately fighting for the rights and the life of the belt. And he falls in love, and there's really no other way of describing it, but he falls in love with a woman that he's never met. And it's a really great love story, despite it being really bizarre. Because once again, he's never spoken to her. He's only running off of this piece by piece history of what she's accomplished on this station and in the area around herself. And he becomes so enamored with her being such a heroic person that she kind of brings him out of the darkness merely by existing.
Yeah.
And so he becomes dedicated to this mission at all costs of finding her, of if he can,
Mhm.
saving her. And that is one of the best story arcs in the entire series. But I can't tell you any other details.
Right.
Then it goes into spoilers.
But-
Right.
Tell us why we should watch
Yeah.
season 4.
All right. So season 4 just released, and season 4 involves one of the biggest shifts in the cultures of the Expanse. Every planet, every faction has shifted from what they used to be in season 1 into a new creature in season 4. And that is the thing that is most interesting to me, because the paradigm shift is the idea of colonization.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you how you're able to colonize or what they're colonizing.
But it's more focused on colonization.
Which is there are new frontiers. And originally, humans have the ability to travel through space at a reasonable portion of time, but they don't have the ability to travel to different galaxies. So they can't possibly colonize the rest of the known universe. They're not
Right.
galaxy spanning. And so that's the reason why Mars was so dedicated to terraforming its planet.
Right.
And the reason why Earth is completely overpopulated, because there isn't any place to send Earthlings. Right. And the belt, well, they don't even have a planet that they can live on. They
Right.
live on space stations and asteroids and just out in the void. And so suddenly, not without any explanation I can actually give you without spoiling, there's the ability to colonize other worlds. And just
outside of their galaxy.
outside of their galaxy.
Mm.
Not only just one another world, thousands of other worlds.
Kind of
become
like
available.
a Stargate type thing.
Yes, kind of like a Stargate type of thing.
Okay.
Where suddenly now all these potentials are open, and it catastrophically affects everyone. You think it?
Oh yeah, it would make the other group vastly more powerful than Earth, I would think.
Well, anybody who can start colonizing, but
Yeah.
there's a treaty between
So-
all three factions that the thing that they use to get to these other worlds cannot be accessed because it might be too dangerous.
Right.
So everyone has to sit on their hands for a series of months while waiting to see if it's safe to do so. Well, the belt, being the belt, does not listen to authority.
Right.
They don't.
They use it
care.
anyways.
Out of curiosity, is it what I think it is?
Yes. What you were aware of from watching the first 2 seasons leads into these events.
Okay.
So regardless, the Belters being the Belters, they're very rebellious. They live in and of themselves. They have a great independence and that they want to better their lives, and they will really do anything to do so. Because they have a really tight knit connection with each other that's outside of what Mars has, which is a greater purpose driving them. Belters generally care about other Belters, and the only thing that they want is a better life than the one that they've been given.
Right. And so this is the door. This is the way to
Right.
get that better life.
And so while Earth and Mars are willing to sit on their hands and wait, even though they're also gunning to go there,
Right.
right?
They're much more desperate than them.
Yes, and so obviously Belters are going to be the first people to break the rules.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they do at the expense of their own lives, which you always have to give Belters credit for. They're willing to die for
Their cause.
just not even really a cause. Unlike Mars, Mars has a cause.
Right. It's more for
Any
their
chance-
survival.
Yeah, any chance to improve their lives,
Yeah.
they're willing to commit everything to doing so. And so the opportunity to go to a planet and for Belters to have a world
Yeah.
overrides
So
common
yeah, it gives
sense.
them a head start.
Yeah, overrides common sense for like most of them.
Yeah.
And this season deals with the fact that a series of Belters have risked their lives to land on this planet and to have a Belter world.
Right.
And the entire action that they've taken has shifted the paradigm for the other factions because those Belters made it They landed there and they just started colonizing.
Yep.
So it can be done.
And they have the head start.
And they have the head start. So the other factions now are beginning to mobilize. Earth obviously has a giant problem.
Yeah.
There are trillions, well, not trillions, but there is almost billions upon billions of people that have nothing to do. They literally can't work because there aren't jobs for them to work.
They probably don't even know how to do the things that they would need them to go do.
But regardless, they just have a massive population just sitting there doing absolutely nothing functionally.
Yep.
And those people, most of them, don't want to be in that situation. They would rather have an opportunity to do something with their lives than live for upwards to about 100 years of nothing. Earthlings are really tortured as peoples.
Right.
And when you actually get to meet some of the people that are on basic, you realize that the life that they're living is almost just completely non-existent. So yeah, one of the people fell over.
Yeah.
They're completely bereft of purpose. And so all these Earthlings want desperately to go and colonize. Because now, not only can you stop Earth from being overpopulated, but you can give them jobs, give them something to do with their lives.
Have purpose.
Right. And so Earth is like quickly ramping up to just say, go, go, go. It doesn't matter what's on the other side. We have to get there. We have to. And there are very real
And they're
present,
very excited.
Yeah, and there are very real and present dangers.
That noise is my wife opening the garage. Sorry, it is very loud. Yes, we are above the garage.
Yeah, we are above it. So it's a very real and present danger that Avisarala, who's currently leading Earth as the faction is concerned, is well aware of because she's dealt with the events of the first 3 seasons personally.
Right.
And she's just like, no, we have to make sure it's safe before we send anybody because things can go catastrophically wrong. I'm talking about ending the entire human race as a species catastrophically wrong.
Right.
And that's the reason why she and so many other people are angry with
So
those
are they?
Belters.
So have they ran into new alien races yet or anything?
No, there aren't any aliens.
Not
There's
yet?
just the remnants of alien life.
Okay.
It's
so
the best way of
that's-
thinking about it.
Yet.
Yeah. So if aliens are currently out
It
and
would
about,
be. It would be maybe in the upcoming
Season
season,
5
where
or season
Earth
6.
is really starting to
yeah,
take over.
another time skip basically
Yeah.
could
Mhm.
potentially introduce actual aliens.
Okay.
Because you do see alien life, but you don't see aliens as we would.
Assume.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So regardless, that's Earth's position, which is we can finally break free of the shackles of basic and actually achieve something with our lives.
Right.
Mars, on the other hand, is the most tragic thing I've ever seen. And it touched.
They don't want to go.
Well, no, it's not that they don't want to go. The existence of colonizing other worlds destroys the dream of Mars.
Well, because it loses its how special it is and
Well-
and its purpose.
Why spend 100 years terraforming a barren rock into an oasis?
When you can go to
another world.
one that's already like that.
And in all of just like a blink of an eye, the entire Martian culture, all that Mars stood for, dies. And this season is just you watching Mars just disintegrate.
Right.
And
Lose their way as a people.
yeah, it's like watching the fall of Rome on fast forward. It's just it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like I sat there and I couldn't even begin to comprehend
They
that.
couldn't fathom that possibly they could go to other planets one of these days.
Well, no, it was nothing. It's never going to be a reality. The
In their eyes.
technology,
Yeah.
the technology to have done so was so far out of their bounds that it was more reasonable to turn a rock into a garden
Yeah.
than it was to go to another world and colonize.
So all their hard work was for naught in their
Right.
eyes.
All these generations of Martians, all these sacrifices, all this commitment evaporated in one moment. And we just get to see what happens afterwards.
And I'm guessing they're going to blame the Belters and they're going to kill them.
It's not really the Martian thing. But
Okay.
Because this is Martians collapsing internally.
Okay.
The Martians don't really care about anyone else at this point.
Right.
In fact,
They're not pointing blame at anybody.
right. In fact, they're so far removed from it that they're actually demilitarizing.
Yeah.
Which
What?
is Mars is demilitarizing.
Why? Just because that's
They
so
don't care
dumb.
anymore. Well,
So dumb.
for lack of better terms, right? Mars was always worried
Yeah.
that Earth posed a threat to them, and that if Earth could attack them, it would destroy.
But now
everything they
Earth
built.
has no reason to attack them. They don't care.
Right. And the belt, even though it's filled to the brim with terrorists, they have a bigger issue with Earth because Earth controls more of the asteroid belt than Mars does. Earth is the one that imposes rules upon the belt, not Mars. See what I'm saying? So Mars
Right.
doesn't really have to worry about either one of them.
So this is a lot more of a thought-provoking series. It's not straightforward.
Well,
Here's the villain. Here's the
that's why I
good
call
guy.
it an opera.
Yeah.
Right, because there are obvious villains and there are obvious heroes, but more importantly, these people are real. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
It's more to it than just that, is what I'm getting at.
yeah. So, like, I understand every one of these characters' motivations. I can sympathize with all of them. I actually root for most of them. You know what I'm saying? Because I want them to get the things that they want. And most of the time, those things aren't directly in competition or crossing paths or conflicting with anyone else, right? It's just that it's the story of humanity that we have these prejudices and that we have these inability to let go of past hatreds. Because in season 4, what's happening with the Belters is that the Belters are split into two factions. The let's forget all our past conflict with Earth and Mars
Right.
and look forward to a better future for the Belt. And then there are a bunch of mad terrorists
Right.
who want nothing more than to punish Earth above anything else. They cannot let go of this hatred that has existed in their hearts because they've basically been slaves for
Yeah.
all of these years.
Treat it
And-
like dirt.
Right. And now they have power because in the previous events of seasons, the belt has become a stronger place.
Right.
And now with this newfound power, they're not going to send
Let it go.
towards they're not going to send it towards building new worlds and improving life for the belt. No, they're going to take the power they have and they're going to use it to punish Earth and Mars
Yeah.
for what they did to them, mostly Earth.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, they have a deep grievance with Earth, which, Miller in season 1 goes to show that interaction between Earthlings and Belters
Yeah.
that doesn't exist for Martians.
Right.
And so, and it's a civil war almost within the belt between
The ones that want to.
can we work together with Earth and Mars to improve our lives? Can the Belter become an economic powerhouse in the galaxy? Can the Belts as a people, can we be a nation? Because they weren't a nation before. They were just a collection of people. But this is the first time the Belt gets to truly be a power. And these lunatics who are willing to do anything to punish Earth and Mars are going to ruin that.
Right.
They're going to send us back into this giant galactic civil war that might destroy us all. You know what I'm saying? The Belt's trying to suppress that internally.
Right.
And it's a war between these two factions on which side is going to win. And this conflict is multi-layered. It takes place at the most interpersonal levels or at the most cosmic of levels. It's like I said, an opera.
Yeah.
It is one of the most well-written, some of the most practical for sci-fi effects you'll ever see. They take into account things that other sci-fi shows don't even bother with. Like, there aren't anything like shields in this series, like you might see in Star Trek. Right.
Yeah.
No, you have to deal with the fact that every bullet that's shot at you will most likely pierce your armor and go through your ship.
Yeah.
And it does.
It does.
Multiple
And it
different
kills
scenes.
people.
Right. And you have to compensate for all of that.
So it's a much more realistic, grounded sci-fi, if that makes sense.
It's the hardest sci-fi show out there. Sci-fi meaning as true to
realism as you can be.
Pick it. Yeah. So there's that as a benefit to it. The music selection is absolutely wonderful. It pieces itself together with the series in a beautiful way. The visuals are spectacular. Like, on everything that you could hit correct, this series does. And I can only say that I would like for all of you people to go out there and give it a try. Maybe episodes 1, 2, and 3 aren't the most fast-paced things, but they're trying to set up this massive world for you. But once it gets rolling, it is one of the most beautiful stories ever written. I truly cannot recommend it enough. It, to me, is one of the best TV shows out there, period.
It's sad Dane can't actually talk about his favorite character or favorite.
Yeah, the thing that sold me on it and that made my entire day, which is Miller and Julie Mao.
Their entire story is completely spoilery, but
yeah, sorry, I haven't watched it yet. My bad.
I'll put it to you like this. To me, it's one of the greatest romance stories ever told.
He plans on doing a more spoiler related video later once I finally watch.
Well, once I feel like the vast majority of people have had time to
Got so
see
many
the 4th
episodes to
season.
watch.
I'm just saying, because they're not necessarily long. Like, I've already watched season 4 twice.
Right.
The entire thing.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm getting at is I have to watch all 4 seasons. Well, I'm trying to watch all 4 seasons of The Expanse. I'm trying to catch up to his stuff. Fate.
Fate,
Yeah, and Fate's a beast of its own for sure. It
But
has a
yeah.
lot of content.
So look, if you're not out there watching The Expanse, I cannot recommend it to you enough. It has one of the best fan bases. It has an excellent relationship between the cast and crew and the fans. On all levels, it does its job positively. And I'm sure that you can go on YouTube or online and find this opinion from me replicated thousands of times over. I know you may not want to pick up another streaming service. I don't care how you watch it. I would love for
Who
you to
doesn't own
support it.
Amazon Prime?
I
Yeah,
was gonna say somebody has to own Amazon Prime.
yeah, right. I'm just saying. But even if you don't, I don't care how you watch it. I would love for you to support it, but watch it because it's a story that I think everyone needs to see at least a part of. It is that touching. And so this has been the Depths of Disorder. I'm your host Dane. These are my co-hosts Tim and Alex, who shares the name of one of the characters. um, and we thank you so much for just listening to me rant about this for like 30 minutes straight.
And me and Cussler just casually listening to him rant.
Because this is all I wanted it to be, is a suggestion. And I hope that they pick up on it and continue to see it. And I hope that you guys out there who haven't seen it or love it, I hope you guys go into the comment section and tell people how great this series is so we get more people watching. Thank you. Please please comment and subscribe. This has been the Depths of Disorder, signing out.